A German soldier writes a letter home. He says the Russians have been reduced to nothing. He says the city is basically dead. He says victory is only a matter of days away. That letter was written in September. The battle didn't end until February. By the time it was over, one of the most powerful armies in human history, an army that had conquered France in 6 weeks, would be so broken that its own general would surrender against direct orders from Adolf Hitler himself. And the reason why has almost nothing to do with tanks or planes or generals. It has to do with rats. This is the story of the Battle of Stalingrad, the bloodiest single battle in the history of warfare. Over 2 million people would be killed, wounded, or captured before it ended. And somewhere inside this nightmare is one of the strangest, most brutal turning points of the entire Second World War. Stick around, because the way this battle actually got won is stranger and darker than almost anyone realizes. And the man who caused Germany's greatest military disaster wasn't a general at all. It was Hitler. Part 1. The city that had to fall. By the summer of 1942, Adolf Hitler's war machine looked unstoppable. German forces had steamrolled across the Soviet Union, and Hitler wanted one city in particular, Stalingrad. It sat on the Volga River, a vital supply route. But there was another reason Hitler wanted it, and this one had nothing to do with strategy. It had Stalin's name on it. Taking the city named after his rival wasn't just a military objective, it was personal, propaganda, a symbol, and Stalin knew it. He gave one order to his soldiers: not one step back. 2 dictators, 1 city, neither willing to lose it, no matter the cost. That decision would turn Stalingrad into a meat grinder. Part 2. A city turned to rubble. In August 1942, German bombers unleashed one of the most devastating air raids of the entire war. Within days, Stalingrad, a city of nearly 400,000 people, was reduced to burning skeletons of buildings. You'd think that would make it easier to capture. It did the opposite. The rubble became a weapon. Soviet soldiers hid inside collapsed buildings, in sewers, inside the shells of factories, still churning out tanks, even as soldiers fought floor by floor above them. German troops started calling it Rattenkrieg, the Rat War. Fighting for a staircase could take days. Fighting for a single room could cost dozens of lives. But that wasn't the worst part. Winter was coming, and neither side had any idea just how much worse this was about to get. Part 3. The trap. By November, the German 6th Army, nearly 300,000 men, had pushed deep into the city. On paper, they were winning. House by house, they were grinding the Soviets down. Then, on November 19th, 1942, the Soviets launched something the Germans never saw coming: Operation Uranus. It wasn't an attack on the city, it was an attack around it. Soviet forces smashed through the weaker Romanian and Hungarian units guarding the German flanks. Allies Hitler had trusted to hold the line. Within 4 days, the trap snapped shut. The entire 6th Army, nearly 250,000 men, was surrounded. They had a city, but now the city had become their coffin. Part 4. The betrayal from the top. Here's where the story turns from tragedy into something almost unbelievable. German General Friedrich Paulus knew the truth immediately. His army was trapped, starving, and freezing, and the only way to save his men was to break out immediately, while there was still a gap in the Soviet lines. Hitler said no. He ordered Paulus to hold his position. He promised the Luftwaffe would airlift in enough supplies to keep the army alive through the winter. It was a fantasy. The 6th Army needed at least 300 tons of supplies a day just to survive. On its best day, the Luftwaffe delivered less than half that. Most days, it delivered far less. So while Hitler sat in a war room hundreds of miles away, making promises he couldn't keep, his own soldiers began to starve. Temperatures dropped to nearly -30 degrees. Frostbite claimed fingers, toes, entire limbs. Soldiers boiled horse leather just to have something to chew. Disease spread through the ranks, and still, no retreat was allowed. The real tragedy of Stalingrad wasn't the city. It was that Hitler sacrificed an entire army to save his own pride. Part 5. The collapse. By January 1943, the once mighty 6th Army was a ghost of itself. Soldiers who had marched through Europe in triumph were now reduced to skeletal figures, wandering through the snow, Many without proper boots, without ammunition, without hope. And then came the twist almost no one expects. On January 30th, 1943, Hitler promoted Paulus to the rank of Field Marshal. It wasn't a reward, it was a message. No German Field Marshal had ever surrendered in the history of the country. Hitler was telling Paulus, without saying it directly, to die rather than give up. The next day, Paulus surrendered anyway. It was one of the greatest acts of quiet defiance in the entire war, and it shattered the myth of German invincibility for good. Part 6. The Cost. When the guns finally fell silent on February 2nd, 1943, the numbers were almost impossible to comprehend. Around 91,000 German soldiers surrendered, starving, frostbitten, barely alive. Fewer than 6,000 of them would ever see Germany again. The rest died in Soviet captivity in the years that followed. Total casualties on both sides, killed, wounded, captured or missing, are estimated at nearly 2 million people for one city. Why it still matters. Stalingrad wasn't just a battle. It was the moment the Second World War changed direction. Before Stalingrad, Nazi Germany looked unstoppable. After it, the myth was broken, and the long, brutal march toward Berlin had begun. But maybe the most haunting part of this story isn't the number of dead. It's the reason so many of them died at all. Not strategy, not tactics, but the ego of one man who refused, until it was far too late, to admit that he had already lost. Stalingrad didn't fall because the Soviets were stronger. It fell because Hitler simply couldn't accept that he wasn't.